Welcome to the Executive's View, the sports podcast where the stakes are high and the debates are fierce. Please welcome your host, Aaron Sirius Simmons, alongside co-host Barry DeVille Jordan. Each week, we bring you into the boardroom where the elite minds of sports converge. From the gridiron strategies to the business behind the ball, we tackle the hard-hitting questions and give you an insider's perspective. So pull up a chair and join us at the table where champions are made and legends are born. This is the Executive's View. Let's get down to business.
Welcome to the Executive View. I'm your host, Aaron Sirius Simmons, and welcome to the View from on top. Man, you could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with the executives, and I appreciate that. You guys know I don't do this by myself, man. I got a slew of brothers that are ready to chop it up and talk everything sports, man. My co-host is on vacation, but decided to pop in the building. What's up, Villain? How we doing this evening, sir?
Villain, it's a nice day down here, but you know it's nothing but blue skies in Connecticut, baby. What's up now, baby? What's going on?
What's up,
and Wu-Tang's for the kids, Zach. Wu-Tang's for the kids.
Yo.
Always.
That's my man Steve's line, man. I just close out. Shout out to my man Steve, man. Give us a plug in the closeout, man. Talk to those people, man. What's up?
I mean, hey, I'm here. Many people might be wondering, Steve, do you have a hat for every team in the AL East besides the Yankees? That answer would be yes.
We can fix that. I got
so
you.
Absurd.
I got you. Larry, what's going on, my guy? How we doing this evening, sir?
Yo, what's the deal, fellas? Hey, I'm no hatting it today. Steve called us out. He said we had to have a hat for every day. I said I'm no hatting it today. I'm glad we joined. I'm glad Barry was able. I had a feeling he was gonna make a guest appearance just because he said he don't throw UConn in our face. But I knew he was going to UConn in our face. I just knew it.
You already know, man. Yeah, I tell you what, I've been working with this dude for too long. I knew it was coming. You know, I should have had his wife take his phone. Man. That's
Never.
crazy, man.
Never.
Well, before we get started, man, I wanted to pay respects. One of the good friends of ours, Roger Jones, passed away suddenly. He was with us on Sports City when we started that whole publication. Along with TP Thomas, you know, Steve was with us, you know, Villain was with us. One of the coolest guys we've ever had the pleasure of talking sports with. Lived out in Wales, the UK. He would call in and just talk football with us, man. So we lost a good one last Friday. I was able to correspond with Barry here, and you know, he said something that you know we tend to forget. That kind of helped me wrap my head around it. And he said that, you know, tomorrow's never promised. You know what I'm saying? You gotta show the people that you love them when you got the time. And so I wish we was able to talk to him more. He was talking with Villain about popping over, especially now that draft time is here. That's kind of where he made his bread, if you will, talking NFL draft and things of that nature. So rest in peace to Rodri. I wanted to give Steve or Villain some time to kind of pay their respects before we move on. Villain, talk to me, dog.
Yeah, I mean, I was in contact with him not too long ago, like a week or 2 weeks ago. He had called me, and I didn't get a chance to answer. I was driving, and you know, just missed his call and didn't really get a chance to get back to him. So it was heartbreaking to hear that he transitioned, and it's like we said, like I said to you too, you know, you don't know the day or the hour when the master comes calling or comes knocking on your door. So hug your loved ones, man. We say it on the show, especially at the end of the show, and you know, some people might take it for granted, but you know, I definitely don't. So rest in peace, Raji. Wish you were here. He wanted to pop in. He wanted to come into the boardroom and chop it up with us. So it's just it just throws you for a loop, man.
Yeah. Steve, talk to me, my man. You knew him well when you was with us at Sports City, man. You talked to him a lot, man. Give me how you feel about that thing.
Yeah, I talked to him a lot, even when I left, disassociated myself, whatever you want to call it, with Sports City. I mean, this is a guy he's one of my messenger buddies, especially this time of year, like leading up to the draft and draft talk. I mean, he was just amazing. This was his time of year for a guy from Wales. Like, it's just like, was just so into American football. It was amazing to talk to him. He was a great football mind, just the approach and just how he viewed the game of football and the other football, because he's a guy who was a key piece in helping me develop into my obsession that I have with soccer. I would talk to him about soccer and stuff like that. And so I was like, we talk about both footballs. And he was a guy that I love and miss, like I said, especially this time of year, but I miss him 365. It's tough because it was so sudden. It is just, like I said, I say God is good at the end of every show. And I don't say that just because it's not funny. It's something that I truly believe that in all things, even in something tough like this, God is good. And Ro, we're gonna miss you, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yo, man, it sucks. Life comes at you fast, and again, hug your loved ones. We say it all the time, man, but hug your loved ones, man. Larry, you would have loved him. You would have loved him, man. He like us, is a football junkie. He did a lot of shows with us over the years. Myself, Steve, Barry, Breaking News, Hughes, Chandler, all of us that made the transition over from Sports City. He was an integral part of that whole movement. So he would definitely be missed. With that being said,
Steve brought me in, and of course me and Aaron, we've been kind of virtually knowing each other for a long time. So I'm quite sure we would have vibed and we'd clicked together.
Definitely.
I don't know, something about Steve. Once me and Steve, we made that introduction and we just been running ever since. So I didn't get a chance to meet him, but I feel like I'm with him through you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely appreciate that, man. If I hear anything about, arrangements, I mean, it's in Wells, but I mean, if you want to donate, reach out to the family. I make that information available. With that being said, I wanted to transition so Barry can get the heck on with his vacation and kind of talk a little bit about this NCAA tournament real quick. The UConn Huskies went back-to-back. Much to my chagrin, because I need Barry angry, and right now he is not angry. But talk to me about the villain, man. We saw the writing on the wall early on in the year. It was going to be very difficult to beat this UConn team, and they, made this look super easy 2 years in a row. Talk to me about how you feel, though.
Yeah, I mean, both championships games lived up to the billing, right? The men's and the women's. The women's probably, I still haven't heard the rating yet. I've been out and about. I'm sure you guys have that information, but it had to have been a monster rating, right? Mm-hmm. Shout out to, Dawn Staley in the South Carolina girls. They did the thing. They're the better team. And it's great for both sports, right? Really, do you see the two top overall number one seeds go run the table and win it all? And both of them did it. Yeah. For the men's, right? I said after the Kansas game, UConn played in Kansas, and it was a tight game. I said, and I think we had one guy missing that day, and Kansas was pretty much full strength at that point before they started to get their injuries, guys. And I said UConn's probably the best team in the country, and I didn't say it just because I'm a UConn fan, but I watched that game. And I was like, they went on the road to a hostile environment and probably should have won that game. And they ran the table. It's the dominance of that team, right? 13 plus point differential. It was the highest point differential for a tournament winner ever. Ever. I think it was 140 points, plus 140 points, something like that.
Yeah.
It's so crazy because they don't have that one dominant player. They have a lot of good players, and they got guys that play their roles. Cam Spencer is, like I said, like a week or two ago, best transfer portal pickup this season by far. They just played the game. They wore down Alabama in the Final Four game, and then they wore down Purdue in the championship game. Edey got his points, but they were like, "You're not gonna let anybody else get points." I mean, one guy had an assist, this is a team that shoots, I think, over 23s a game. I don't even know how many. I don't even think they got 10 threes up in this game. Their dominance on defense was unbelievable. So, and then they just wore them down. So UConn, back to back, the new blood. They're a blue blood. 6 chips in 25 years. Their run is going to be hard to replicate. It's just great for the Big East. 4 championships out of the Big East in the last 10 years. 2 by UConn, 2 by Villanova. But UConn just keeps it's just a great feeling, honestly, to think about it from where they were when Hurley was a guy when he came in here. His first couple of NCAA appearances were one and done, right? They were out in the first round, and he said, "You better get us now because we're coming." And a lot of us laughed it off, or we're like, "This guy, where's Kevin Ollie? Get Kevin Ollie back in here." And now look at him; he's the best college coach in the men's side. Dawn Staley is the best college coach. Period. Facts. But he's the best men's college basketball coach. Kentucky's going to throw a boatload of money at him. I hope he doesn't go. I hope he stays because I think he's built something special here. And it's almost anticlimactic on the men's side. The women's side, I think it was more exciting because of the star power they had. But the men's was just, it was UConn in the field. I didn't think anybody was going to beat UConn. And here we are. So great feeling.
All right, cool. I'm done with you. Go enjoy your vacation. I'm done. Get out.
Well, I want to hear everybody else talk about how great UConn. You see, Chandler didn't show up, right? Because he knew. He knew.
Here's the thing. My guess with Chandler is he fell asleep with one sock on and one sock off and holding his phone. That's my guess with Chandler. But real quick though, serious. I do want to give the women their due. The women's was way more exciting. The game was much better than the men's. They have the star power. Cardoso was what? Oh yeah, absolutely. Cardoso was a beast. 6'7", unbelievable talent, unbelievable. She dominated that game, and it doesn't look like it in the stat sheet, right, series, right, boys? But she controlled the glass. She did. And what surprised me, I have to say it, when the game started, me and my sister, big fans, watching the game, and it was 10-0, and I'm like, timeout, get a timeout. Dawn's like, nope. You got us in this mess. You get us out of it. And that's exactly what they did. And I said to my sister, if they cut this lead in half at the end of this quarter, South Carolina's taking this game. And that's what they did. They cut it down. Caitlin Clark had 18 points in the first quarter, 12 points after that. I think she would she needed 28 shots just to get to 30 points. I mean, she was lights out in the first quarter, and after that, they shut her down. It was a masterful performance from the team, masterful coaching by Dawn Staley. It was just a brilliant game, and it was great to watch. It was great for the women's sport, and it was good to get them to get their shine all Monday, even though WrestleMania just happened. But they got their shine, like they deserved it, and it was a showcase for them. Caitlin Clark is elevating the sport, but I think everybody around is elevating that sport. You got Juju, she's coming. Paige Becker's had a good tournament. Dawn Staley, best coach in college basketball. It's that women's game is in a great spot right now. Really
so I just want to give them their props.
It really is. When we look at, what Paige Beckers did, Juju, like you alluded to, Cardoza, Angel Reese, even though we had issues with her last week, she still balled out. The women's game, and there are more females coming. There are more females
they're coming.
That are coming. So I'm very much encouraged by that particular tournament. But I'm gonna let the rest of the guys talk about UConn's, and I really want to get you out of here in 5 minutes. So Larry, tell my man about how pitiful UConn is, so you can go home and you can go to his hotel room and cry. Talk to me, man.
Oh man, UConn suck.
There you go.
UConn Huskies.
Oh man, so you know what? I'll start with the men's. We all pretty much said the same thing, that UConn was heads and tails above everybody else. the thing that I really liked about the UConn team is that they play as a team. It's no stars. So hey, you may get 10 tonight, you may get 20 tonight. They actually play as a really good team. We did get that big man showdown, and Edey versus I can't remember how you say his name.
You called it though. That's
Clingan.
That's what you want.
Donovan Clingan.
Yeah, we got the big man matchup. The thing that I loved about the championship game, and it was kind of like a mirror of the women's, but the UConn coaching matters. Coaching really do matter. And you guys heard me fussing. You guys heard me fussing yesterday because Purdue kept doing the same thing. They kept trying to pound it in. Even the guards pounded in. And UConn had the perfect game plan. We'll let Zach Edey get Zach Edey, but nobody else is going to do nothing. And they literally, like you said, they hit 1 3-pointer like the whole game. Nobody else could do nothing, and they executed a masterful plan. I'll say this about what I like about UConn. They play hard all day. They play as a team, no matter who's the hot hand, who's not the hot hand. And the one thing I like about Hurley, he literally stepped on the court to grab a guy like he's at practice. Like, and we all knew it. Like, dude, the game is in the wrap.
I love that. I love that actually.
You better not shoot that ball. You better run that clock out, because if not, I'm gonna sub you out, and you're gonna come off this court. So hats off to UConn. The only criticism I have against UConn, they destroyed the field, and just because of the state of the men's game, if you have a really solid, deep team that plays really good together, we've seen it even with these mid-majors. They're upsetting these one-and-done teams. They're coming out of nowhere, and you didn't expect them. And UConn has the perfect, solid, blue blood team that is hard to beat in today's environment. So I got to give my hats off to them. Now moving over to the women, like I said, it was kind of a microcosm of the same thing. They said Caitlin Clark, you can score 40. But you know what? You can score 40. Nobody else is going to beat us. And they ran a good game plan. They were sending multiple defenders at her. They were basically doing everything that I thought that LSU was going to do to Iowa. UConn tried to do it to them, but SC, hats off to them. They executed the game plan. Cardozo, she was a beast. Like I said, it was a well balanced attack and a perfect game plan. The best thing I will say that I loved about the entirety of the women's game was Dawn Staley. Remember, I kept saying it before, fellas. Class act, man. They beat Iowa, and the first thing she said was she's one of the GOATs. Caitlin Clark is one of our GOATs. She's giving that girl her props, and it wasn't like she was trying to downplay her or she was trying to, show her up or anything. She was just, like I say, she was just total class. And I got to give my hats off to Dawn Staley. She's always been class. Her entire team has always been class. Even on the post-game interviews, they didn't disrespect their opponent. They told them, they gave us a good game. They gave us a good run. And like I said, we'll see what happens next year. Hopefully Hurley stays at UConn. If not, I'm not going to be mad at him, because if somebody tracks a dump truckload full of money up to my door, I might be leaving my job too. But we'll see how it happens. But right now, because of the amount of talent that they have on both teams, we might see a three-peat in the men's and a repeat in the women's. Just because they're still loaded. They're still loaded. So we'll see.
Steve,
that's what I think.
Steve, talk to me, man. Both, the women's side and the men's side kind of shook out how we thought. Give me how you feel about it, Doug.
So my thing is, first off, I'm just going to put this out here. Now, I mentioned this the other week, and I got some resistance. But again, with UConn, this was very similar to those running reps back in the day. Where it took all the excitement out of it. You just saw them just run through the tournament, and then it was just like, now they weren't beating people by 35, Larry. I understand that. But it's like, just to be able to just consistently just go through the tournament 2 years in a row, just it's like you knew the ending of the story, before it got to the ending. You saw it coming, and it's like I think it's one of those things where it's like you just have to appreciate this. This is greatness. Like I said, maybe this run for UConn, this back-to-back, maybe it won't be fully appreciated until we get 10, 15 years down the line. But what UConn is doing now, and I see people still saying, are they a blue blood? UConn's been a blue blood program for me for a while now, but now it's undeniable. It was an opinion. Now it is a fact. It is an absolute fact. UConn is a blue blood program. And again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but just they have a bunch of good players. They have a team. In this culture of AAU, look at me type guys, I got to get my shots. I don't care about anything else. They are a group of guys who are all really good, who play like a team, and I love what Hurley has done. And again, when Kentucky backs up the big blue, dump truck full of money, it's probably going to be hard for him to resist. But I hope he stays, because I hope he can do this and dig his heels in and, build something, continue to build on what he's already done. I mean, he can retire right now. And it's like, look, I won 2 of these things. I'm good, whatever. It's like his legacy, his, time at UConn has been cemented already. So I really like what UConn, like I said, and we just said this the whole time. Like I said, I think I was the first person to say it. Like after that first weekend, I was like, nobody's beating UConn. I was like, I said it. I was like, you know what? Because what was the most impressive thing of the weekend? And I was like, UConn's dominance. And I think it's going to continue through the tournament. And I've been consistent with it the whole time. And yeah, and big ups to Zach Edey, a guy who we gave a lot of crap to on this show and in group chat and on various places online. He played. I mean, he was fantastic this whole tournament. He really was. And it didn't amount to nothing. Purdue didn't finish their story to throw in a wrestling, reference there. But like Zach Edey reminded me a lot of. Do you guys remember Greg Oden? Now, of course, he didn't do anything in the pros but like that championship game against Florida, he had like 17 points and like 15 rebounds, like 4. He had an amazing game. Nobody else for Ohio State had a good game. And it was very simple. I'm watching it, and I'm like, you know what? I was like, this reminds me of Oden. Well, Oden, you look at Oden's stats, and I meant to pull them up, but I didn't. But it was just like, he had a fantastic game. Nobody else, no other Buckeye had like over like 9 points, something like it was like crazy, So Edey, big ups to Edey, 2-time player of the year. I don't know what his futures hold. I don't know how he's going to project to the NBA, but he's been a fantastic college player. Just from when he first came to now, the improvement that he's made has been just like leaps and bounds from what he was when he first stepped foot in West Lafayette. So I did want to give Zach Edey and the Purdue Boilermakers a little love just for an amazing season, and they fell short. I mean, but I think they just played a better team. Over to the women's side, I love Dawn Staley. I absolutely love Dawn Staley. She is tough, Philly tough, as they like to say. She has class, gave love to Caitlin Clark. She's real. She's as real as it gets, and you can tell it's not just like some other coaches, and I won't mention some other women's coaches, but you can tell she's invested in these young ladies on and off the court. She wants them to be fantastic basketball players and fantastic women. And if my daughter wanted to go play for Dawn Staley, I'd be jumping, through the roof, because I know that if I hand my daughter off to a woman like Dawn Staley, she's going to be in great hands. So just big up to the Lady Gamecocks, undefeated. After last year's disappointment in the Final Four, to just come back and run the table, undefeated, just untouchable almost. Like Cardoso, like a villain said before he ran out, she was fantastic. It's like you don't have to score 40 points to dominate a game. That young lady dominated that game. She imposed her will on that Iowa team, and and the big up to the perimeter defense, like the guards. The guard
that was
defense,
huge.
Yeah, the guard defense is like, because Cardoso had it locked down on the inside, but then the guard defense, the defense out on the perimeter is what changed this game. When the Lady Gamecock guards kind of ramped up the defense on Caitlin Clark, it kind of made her work a little bit hard for it. It's like it changed the whole trajectory of the game, to where just South Carolina did what they always do. They just kind of grind on you and grind on you and grind on you. And then this, it's like, oh, well, like I said in the group chat, it's like, it was a thing where it's like, boy, I tell you, you look at halftime, it felt like Iowa should have been up 8 or 9 instead of down 3. Mm-hmm. And that's when I knew I was like, I was like, Iowa has no shot, because they did all this and then they were down 3 at halftime. And South Carolina did not play, and then South Carolina did what they do. They kind of hit it, the turbocharge in the second half and took off and won from. But it's like the women's game. We say it, and I think we might be one of the only shows on the internet to champion the women's game the way we do. But like the women's game, it's more popular than ever. Dawn Staley giving Caitlin Clark. Yeah, she is one of the GOATs. Is she my GOAT? No, I believe Diana Taurasi's mine. That's just me personally, and that's up for debate. But the fact that we're talking about women's players, who's the GOAT, who's this, who that just shows you just how far women's basketball has come. And I love it. And I want to say this, and I'll just kind of lead this where it is. It's like, I like Caitlin Clark. She is a fantastic young lady. I've loved watching her play. What I don't like is some of the people who like Caitlin Clark, if you know what I mean. It's like, I think it's unfair to Caitlin Clark that she has become some sort of like symbol of whatever these people, like, oh, well, look, we got one. Look at her. It's like, I don't like it. I don't care for it. Just let that young lady play basketball without bringing her into your mess, into your BS. Just let her go out there and hoop. She's going to be the number 1 pick. Mm-hmm. It's going to be fantastic. Like all this talk about like, oh, she's going to get look, I can't wait to see this girl go out there and prove these people wrong. Because again, like why I think Taurasi's my GOAT, and you got her and Brianna Stewart and other people. It's like, look, everybody on this show right now has played basketball at some level. It's like, man, look, that girl's a hooper. That girl can hoop. So I don't think it's gonna be like all of a sudden she's gonna forget how to play basketball when she gets to the WNBA. I think she's gonna be fine. And I think it's just kind of like a changing of the guard. And when you have people like Taurasi and, Sue Bird, who are kind of older school, women, I can understand why they might feel like, oh, well, wait a minute there, young buck, before you come up and do this. But it's like, no, like with Caitlin, with Juju, with Andrew Reese, with just all these young ladies, Cameron Brink, who gets left out a lot. That girl's bad too. So it's like, I think this is a transition for the women's game, where you kind of seeing the older ones, like, Candace Parker is kind of on the other side. And you think about like Skylar Diggins and like girls like that, they're getting older. And then you see this new crop of young ladies coming up, and the women's game is just in a great place right now.
It's in a great place. And honestly, I'm gonna be short and sweet, because I want to go back to a topic on college basketball here in a minute. But for me, this men's side of the ledger was very, very predictable. I'll be honest with you. I saw a couple games. Obviously, when North Carolina got knocked out, I paid attention to it less, because we all knew what the hell was going to happen. We all know. And my rooting interest for the men's side was seeing if UConn was going to slip up, and they didn't. It wasn't even close. I saw a stat the other day that said that the back-to-back champion, typically the second time around the track, if you will, wins by 14 points or more. Like it was a dominant performance by UConn, Bell from start to finish. And so I'm gonna leave that where it's at. But for the women's side of the ledger, it was must-see TV from the moment go. It didn't matter if it was in the field of 64. We all expected South Carolina to get to this point, but they were tested a lot. They were tested. Heck, I'm going to shoot you straight. We all thought, especially with how that championship game turned out, that they would find a way to win, because they're just the better coach team and they're the better team. But let's not say here not like they didn't get pushed. They had to figure it out. And the thing I like about Dawn Staley is, like, I'm a ball player. I'm also a coach. You know what I'm saying? All of us sitting here, we play ball. I'm not sure if you guys coach, but we can see the wheels turning. We can sit back and watch. Okay, if Dawn Staley put her on Caitlin Clark and they picked her up full court, that changes the outcome of the game. And what happened? They came right out, boom, picked her up, made her work, made her run, got the hand in her face. The young girl who stole the ball right before halftime got the layup, cut the lead, brought the lead from 1 to 3. Was huge. That was huge. Like, she's sitting there trying to dribble out, pluck the ball, get the layup. That's just instinct. That's coaching. And so I loved watching that whole game. I love watching what the UConn women did, even though they came up short. We spoke about them last week at preparing for the Final Four, but watching what they did, shout out to Gino and Paige and those girls. But I love where the college game is at. Interesting to see how these women that have declared for the WNBA draft transition out. Diana Taurasi's, like you alluded to, said it's going to be a whole different ball game. At the end of the day, put ball in the bucket. If you can do that, basketball translates. It's the same distance. The women are bigger a little bit. They've been in the league for a little longer. But, Breanna Stewart didn't forget how to play ball when she got drafted. Now she's literally the face of the WNBA. You know what I'm saying? So Diana Taurasi, respect her. Again, some say she's the GOAT. It is what it is. The white mama can ball. But again, she's on her way out, like you alluded to. Sue Bird retired. She's gone. Rebecca Lobo is not playing ball anymore. Shamika Hoslaw, all these young girls, all these women who played the game who are now speaking on Caitlin Clark. That says more about where the WNBA game and the women's basketball game is at now. You know what I'm saying? Because before, Shamika Hoslaw and Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi wasn't really talking about the women's college basketball game as a collective. They were talking about their alma maters. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Aaliyah Boston, who got drafted last year from South Carolina, who lost to Iowa, was talking about her alma mater. But, now she's doing color commentary, for a championship game. I love where the women's game is at. It's in a great place. And I can't wait to see where it goes from here. I wanted to stay right there at college since we hinted at Kentucky throwing a basket of money at somebody. That would definitely mean that Calipari is gone. What's y'all position on this Calipari thing? Like, personally, gentlemen, I don't even know where I don't know where to go with this. Like, I think a new voice had to be heard in Kentucky. I also feel as though he may have fallen on the sword, but I wanted to see what you guys feel. Steve, talk to me, guy.
So I'm gonna keep this clean. Kentucky fans are effing around and finding out. They are in the effing around stage of this. Okay. Again, we talk about blue bloods. Kentucky is a blue blood program. Mm-hmm. There are things you have to deal with in Lexington that you don't have to deal with at any other school. Yes, the fans, the donors, you have to be more than just a basketball coach. It's funny because like across the street, Mark Stoops, man, he on cloud 9 because it's like nobody really. I mean, they care, but it's like football at Kentucky isn't basketball at Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Kentucky's a basketball school, so basketball holds all the importance. So these people's lives revolve around how good the Cats are doing, and the Cats weren't doing too well. And you could see over time where it's like Cal, and I respect Cal for what he does because he's like, look, this is what he does. He's like, I don't really care about all that other stuff. It's like my thing is I get guys ready for the NBA. I put guys in a position where they can make their families, lives on easy street. Mm-hmm. But at Kentucky, those fans don't care about that. They don't care about how many guys you put in the NBA. They don't care about your guys in the NBA getting second contracts. They care about the 5 guys in blue and white who show up on the court at Rupp Arena every night. That's what they care about. And I feel like Calipari would kind of bring that NBA success and also that out more and more as his teams continue to fail and not live up to that standard. But at the same time, it's like Kentucky fans live in the past. And it's like, these post-segregation championships are hard to get. You know what I'm saying? But that's a different story for a different day. I feel like sometimes it is because they are a blue blood program. They kind of they have an inflated sense of self, and they think they should be better than they are. And then and let's be honest, the rest of the SEC has gotten better. The rest of the SEC cares about basketball now because for a long time we're all men of a certain age. For a long time it was Florida and Kentucky, and that was about it. Before teams that cared about basketball in the SEC. But now look at Alabama. Alabama in the SEC, and then you have Texas coming to the SEC, and then you have Auburn, in the SEC, and you have Tennessee in the SEC. Like the SEC is a legit basketball conference now, guys, and that makes it tougher on Kentucky to just run on through the SEC like they used to because who cares about like basketball in Ole Miss? But now they do. Now they care about basketball in Ole Miss. Now they care about basketball, in South Carolina and something like that. Now they care about all these football schools care about basketball now, and they're playing well now, and that brings me to Arkansas. It's just wild that people don't realize like there's a little chain of stores called Walmart. The Walton family are big contributors to the Arkansas program. So the pockets run deep down in Fayetteville, and I think if you've eaten meat in America, you've probably eaten some Tyson meat somewhere along the line. Like Tyson chicken, one of the biggest contributors to the Arkansas program, the Tyson family. John Calipari is good friends with John Tyson, one of the people in the Tyson family. So it was very easy. He had probably been trying to get Cal to come down there for years, and then you see an opportunity where it's like maybe his voice isn't resonating the way it is in Lexington. Look, he gets called his homeboy like, man, come on down here to Fayetteville. We'll treat you nice. You like it down here anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's very easy for that to happen, and it's just like Arkansas loses their coach to SC. SC, it's funny how this happens. Like most of them leaves to go to SC. Kentucky fans are getting kind of antsy. So then now Patino. I was gonna say something like now Calipari goes to Arkansas, and then it's funny because when I mentioned Patino because what I was gonna say is like now it's like, does Patino go back to Kentucky or something like that? Because it's like it would be crazy. It's like I would just love the chaos of that. Where it's like if Patino goes back to Kentucky. I mean, I like what he's doing at St. John's, but like does Patino go back to Kentucky if Hurley says no? Like I said, I hope Hurley says that UConn, but like when they back up that big blue, money truck, might be hard not to like, take it. But this is funny because it's just like Calipari is a good coach. No matter how you like his antics or his tactics or how he goes about his business, he can be a little slimy sometimes, but he does what he does well. Nobody does what he does better than he does. So I'm interested to see what happens moving forward because like now Kentucky needs a coach, and man, it's crazy to see that Kentucky is in this state as a basketball program.
Right. Larry, talk to me, man. John Calipari moves on from Kentucky. There's been rumors that he's been linked to a couple of schools. Steve dropped one on us, as well. But how do you feel, my man?
Oh yeah, man. I'm with Steve. Like even if you look at the Arkansas football team, hey, they coming. They got some deep pockets over there. They coming. When it comes to Calipari, at the end of the day, to me, Calipari, he's a mercenary. He's a mercenary coach. I mean, you don't think about it like that way, but your team is, tanking and you want to rebuild and you want to be on the national stage, you hire Calipari. That's why they brought him into Kentucky. Kentucky basketball was in the dumps, and they hired Calipari. And I'll go further, and I've just always been that guy. You can look at the level of talent that he's brought in over these years. If you're an 18-year-old guy, you want to go to Lexington, Kentucky, or do you want to go to Florida? Now, if I'm sitting on the bench with, 57 carat diamond neck chain around my neck and I got a $100,000 car in the parking lot, yeah, I'm going to Kentucky, and I'm not going to go in there. We all know what happened at UMass. We all know what happened at Memphis. And then you see these guys, and it's like, okay, he has like 6 dudes in the top 10 recruiting class, and then he was the first one to embrace the one and done. So how many colleges were, okay, I don't care. He's like, yeah, come in. I'm going to shoot some money in your pocket. You here 1 year and you're out the door. And it worked for one championship, but at the end of the day, when you want to establish your program, rebuild it, you hire Calipari. And that's why he's where he's at now. Now, he wasn't adapting to the new landscape, because now, like I said, you can have all these one and done superstar high schoolers that come in, and you're trying to hurry up and teach them how to be a pro, and you're trying to teach them how to, learn your system. Meanwhile, these guys have been at that school 3-4 years. They're grown men, and they can beat you. And like Steve hit it on the head. These other quote unquote non-basketball SEC teams are now basketball teams. Alabama was in the final. Who thought about Alabama basketball years ago? But of course, they had the football team, and now not only are you bringing in football recruits, you're bringing in basketball recruits. You're even bringing in them guys that may have played football and basketball in high school. And now, hey, you can come to Alabama. You can hoop half the season and play football half the season. Our basketball team doesn't suck. We were in the Final Four. So now these teams they're catching up with Calipari. So, I think he didn't want to stick it out. I think he was like, look, y'all already giving me a bunch of pressure. It's time for me to go. It's time for me to, go to my next school. I need to put them on the national stage. Now I will say this. I know Barry doesn't want to hear it, but when you're dealing with your blue bloods, there are blue bloods and then there are deeper blue bloods. UConn is a blue blood. Kentucky is a deeper blue blood. And I'm a fan of all this post and pre-segregation stuff, right? But now, even with Calipari being there, that's a dream job. You can win a national championship at UConn, but you win a national championship at Kentucky.
Yeah. It's gonna hit different. Yeah,
it's gonna hit different. And I can tell you this is why I think that he would even consider it. Remember, like they said, him, his brother, his dad, all competitive. Now he can sit at the table with his brother, say, I got 2. He can sit at the table with his dad. But he can be the head of the table if he say, I got 2 at UConn and I got 1 at Kentucky. I didn't one up y'all now. I didn't one up y'all. But, like I said, Calipari, he's always been that guy that's like a mercenary to me. And if it's not working out in his favor, then he's ready to go. I mean, we saw it in the NBA. He's ready to go. It wasn't working out in his favor. I'm ready to go. Now, I will kind of hit on something that kind of ties the two in together. I'm a fan of. We saw how great the women's game is. We saw how they have all the star power over there. But I'm kind of a fan of. I know we Calipari made us fall in love with the one and dones, but the NBA really does need to say, look, you guys are getting NIL money now. You guys are millionaires coming in the league. Y'all need to stay 3 years. Y'all need to stay 3 years before you can come to the NBA. Now we'll start seeing these teams that, they have had the star power and adding to the star power. We'll see these guys who they like Calipari. He has those guys come in and one and done, but their game isn't polished. Their game is, still got flaws in it. And we'll get a better product on the men's side of the bracket because the teams will be better. The problem with the men's side is that those guys are even Dillingham. Dillingham is already declared for the NBA draft. It's like, Dillingham, you could have stayed if you were forced to stay another 2 years, and then you bring in a Hurley and he bring in his recruits and his transfers, then now can we really see these teams maximizing the star power because these guys are staying? I mean, like I said, it's not like you guys are, before they were like, oh, I got to feed my family and, I got to declare for the NBA draft. The NBA is actually shut down G League Ignite. So they're not even doing that anymore. Let these guys stay in college. Now it's not like before where it was like, okay, we're gonna go to Kentucky because he's okay with the one and done. You guys know I'm a Duke fan, And Krzyzewski, he had to start embracing the one and done, and not taking nothing away from nobody else. But Duke has had an amazing run with recruits too. He had to start embracing the one and dones. But if they had guys who had to stay, then now, what kind of a product are we getting? Like, I would have loved to see, Kyle and some of these guys with a Banchero. That would have been a whole different outcome, a whole different game, and like I said, I see the game as something that they need to look at as far as getting these guys to stay. But then also now, you have a Calipari where he may have to actually embrace, I'm going to have these guys 3 years, or I'm going to have them 2 years, and then they might hit the transfer portal, or, hey, I might need to bring in some transfer portal guys that were late bloomers. But yeah, like I say, I would definitely love now to have these guys stay like the women. The women, they're not, one and done and then going to the NBA. And then you want to see, like, can Cal really coach? Because now Cal has to coach these guys 3 years. They're integrating the program, or are they just winning on talent? Because honestly, that Davis team won on talent.
So let me ask you this question, to go back and forth with you a little bit. The amount of money that the women make in college pales in comparison to what they would make in the pros and the WNBA. So can we really compare the two?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, like Caitlin Clark, she's going to probably take a pay cut going to the WNBA.
Correct. That's the point.
Yeah, she's going to take a pay cut. But we got 4 years of Caitlin Clark. We barely getting 1 year of these as in the men's side. We got 1 year of Banchero. One. Number 1 overall pick. Gone. Matter of fact, we got 1 year of Anthony Davis. Anthony Edwards.
Anthony Edwards, yeah.
Yeah, 1 year of Anthony Edwards. You trying to tell me if he would have stayed at least 3 years, they couldn't have built that program, and then now we got a much better team in the tournament?
So your argument is for the college athlete to stay in college longer to build the program, or to better their game, or to not go to the league?
To improve the overall product. But I think Calipari, he started in the NBA, just because the NBA says you have to be 1 year out of high school. They've made those revisions before. You used to go straight from high school to the NBA. You used to have to do, I think it was like 3 years before. And then they said, no, you can do one and then go back to the 3 years, and like when you're dealing with like a Calipari, he was the main one who said, oh, come 1 year. Like I said, that Anthony Davis team was loaded. It was like all the top 5 freshmen. So they were just basically beating people on talent. Do you really know the offensive and defensive strategies of your coach if you only been there basically like 6 months, 3, 4, 6 months? I mean, he was the catalyst for that. So now, like, when you see like a Hurley said, you know what, I can't really coach these guys. I can't coach them hard when they won and done. So now I'm hitting this transfer portal. Now I'm getting these guys that actually want to come in here for 2-3 years and improve on their game. And now if you see it, he's running Ranshot through these guys.
Yeah,
he is. And like I said, Calipari, he's one of those guys that, like I said, he started the one and done. He stuck to it so long, but then by him, people seeing like all the stars that he was getting, they were number 1 picks, top 5 picks. They're going to the NBA. They're making all this money. To then now he's not winning anymore, but he's the one who created a lot of this stuff, and that's why the product ain't what it used to be.
So is he essentially the fall guy for this, or could it potentially be that Kentucky just ain't match up? Well, like Kentucky couldn't play with Duke. Kentucky couldn't play with North Carolina. They couldn't play with Connecticut this year. They couldn't play with Purdue. Like, I think Alabama will give them run for their money. Like, the top 10 teams in college basketball on the men's side this past year, I don't think Kentucky measures up.
Well, he stuck to it. He kept sticking to what he know. He kept sticking to, hey, Kentucky, they were getting guys transferring out because he would have 10 of the top 25 dudes, and they're like, hey, I'm only getting 3 minutes and I'm not really starting. And then now, if you notice, almost every year in Kentucky, it's almost their whole team declares for the draft, and they get these draft assessments back, and they're like, oh, you're a second round pick. Okay, I'm at the transfer portal, and then they're on somebody else's team. Yeah. That was, and he wasn't willing to change his mentality of the type of players that he recruit. I think that was his ultimate downfall. But now he's going to go to Arkansas, and I'm hoping that he'll make that change and say, okay, I can't just build my team because I'm not the only one in town that can, I don't know, give you a challenger or something. I'm not the only one in town. But also now I have to look at, do I really have to coach these guys for 3-4 years? Do I really have to develop them? Because to me, I feel like he wasn't a developer. He was more of a, hey, I'm going to get you ready for the NBA. I'm going to improve your draft.
So what makes you think, again, Steve, you could chime in here if you want, but what makes you think going to Arkansas is going to flip him up? Like, he could have did that same mentality switch right there in Kentucky. You know what I'm saying? So is going to Arkansas, another SEC school? You know what I'm saying? Going to, miraculously change his mind up?
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, because in me, and this is just the point I want to make. So yeah, it's like, I guess I talked about it when I was speaking at first. It's like, you look at the landscape of SEC basketball and it's changed, even from when Calipari first got to Kentucky. But then you go to a place like Arkansas, and let's be honest, guys. If Calipari was to replicate everything he did at Kentucky at Arkansas, they would be dancing in the damn streets.
Oh, yeah.
Give me a championship. Give me a couple of Final Fours. Give me a couple of SEC championships. It'd be money well spent for Arkansas, because it's different at Arkansas. If Cal literally did the same thing, blow for blow, what he did in Kentucky, he would be a damn deity in Fayetteville. They build a 15-foot tall statue of him in front of the damn basketball arena if he did what he did. But in Kentucky, that's not good enough. And like I said to my point earlier, it's just, if he does what he does, he's gonna do what he does. He is the best at doing what he does. He has a recipe that he cooks with, So it's like, he's gonna do what he did if he does what he did at Kentucky, at Arkansas, they're gonna be happy. So I don't think he's gonna change his style up or whatever like that to appease whoever. He's gonna do what he did, because that Arkansas wants that. They want what he did. They're like, oh, Kentucky's too good for, a couple Final Fours, one championship. They're too good for that. We'll gladly take that.
But the game is changing. The league is changing. So, it's going to be very difficult for Calipari to duplicate what he did at Kentucky, because, to everybody's point, the SEC is coming. They got legit ball programs over there now. You know what I'm saying? So if he fails to adapt and change, is what you're speaking of, Steve, even possible?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I'm just speaking to the fact that the standards in Lexington are different than the standards in Fayetteville. Mm-hmm. If he could do half of what he did in Kentucky, if he can win half of the games, then they're happy in Arkansas. But it's going to be harder because, again, like we've been saying in this whole segment, Alabama made the Final Four. Auburn's good. Bruce Pearl got it going in Auburn right now. Tennessee's good. As much as I can't stand Rick Barnes, he's resurrected that program. Tennessee's playing some good ball. It's like you got some, Vandy. That's the only sport they're really good at is basketball. Now, they've had some tough times recently on the court, but I mean, so you look Ole Miss, Chris Beard, you look up and down the SEC. Like I said, you have Texas coming in, you have Oklahoma coming in. It's just, Mizzou is usually decent in basketball. They had a tough year this year, but it's like overall, yeah, the SEC isn't just a football conference anymore. And yeah, the landscape of SEC basketball has totally changed, and it's going to be harder for Cal to succeed. It's going to be harder for everybody. Florida has some down years. Florida's coming back. It's just, whoever goes in there at Kentucky, they still have talent. They still will be. It's not like Kentucky's going to go in the toilet. They're going to get a good coach to replace Calipari in Lexington, and they're going to have the talent there, and people still want to go to Kentucky.
Right. So
their facilities are amazing. And Steve, I you know what? I'm. This is why I say what I say about Calipari. Yeah, in Arkansas, yeah, they'll be happy to get a couple of national coverage games. They'll be happy to play on Saturday afternoon on CBS or something. They'll be happy with that. But you know, if you really look at Cal, the amount of talent that he had at Kentucky to have one championship, I don't think that he's not going to be able to replicate that success without having the amount of star power and players to basically, you know, we all know how basketball is. Basketball is not like football. I could have 5 superstar freshmen and I can set the world on fire in basketball. But now that landscape has changed, and Cal, like you say, he got that recipe. And is he still going to be okay with going in and telling guys you're going to be a first round pick? Because if Cal get you on the team, you're going to be a first round pick. And is that going to be enough to translate into success on the court? Recently,
we'll see. Yeah, it hasn't. It hasn't. But again, some of that has to do. We talking about Cal. A lot of these kids want to go to Kentucky because it brings us back to earlier conversation. Kentucky's a brand name school. You know, your Kentuckys, your Kansas, your Dukes, your Carolinas. You know, they're brand name schools. You know, they're brand names like Nike, Coke, Pepsi. You know, Duke, Carolina. You know what I'm saying? It's Kentucky. You know, it's. So I just think that all I'm saying is if Calipari, he's going to stick to his guns. He's not going to change his philosophy, you know. But some of that was Kentucky. Now, will he be able to get these recruits to come to Fayetteville, Arkansas? Guys, I've been to Fayetteville, Arkansas. I've been to Lexington, Kentucky. Neither one of those places is a good place to be at for a long time. You know what I'm saying? And that's no disrespect to anybody who is watching from Lexington or Fayetteville. But it's like at least with Kentucky, you have the cachet of it's Kentucky, it's Rupp Arena, Big Blue Nation, a blue blood program. That's a word we've used a lot on the show tonight. It's like down in Fayetteville, that's not it.
Be honest with you, nobody want to really be in, you know, Raleigh and Durham. But you go there to the school.
You've been to Lawrence, Kansas before, boys.
Hey, I feel like this, but you know,
that loud.
Hubert is a better coach. Hubert is a better coach than him, and I feel like because I've seen Hubert win with less talent, and I've seen Calipari lose with more talent.
So again, like he said that he said that Kentucky needs a new voice. You know, they got all this talent, but he can't put it together anymore. I mean, is Arkansas the right place for him, or where would you see Calipari fit best?
To me, I'm like Steve. That's the perfect place for him because they need to be put on the map. Calipari, if you notice, he didn't, say I'm going back to the NBA. No, that's not for him. And he wasn't like, I'm gonna wait for the UConn job to open up. No, he needs to go somewhere like Memphis. Like when he put Memphis on the map, let's be honest. Memphis, he put Memphis. UMass, I'm being for real. I'm not even being funny. I didn't even know UMass had a team until Marcus Camby was playing for him. And like I said, he can go to Arkansas, replicate that. But as far as Calipari being like on that national stage at a blue blood, I think this is the end of the road for him. This is where he, rides off into the sunset. But he can put them somewhere that they've never been before for basketball, and that's perfect for them.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Success at Arkansas is going to be measured different than success at Kentucky. Kentucky wants banners, championship banners. They don't want, SEC championship. They don't want, we made a Final Four. In Lexington, they want championship banners. In Arkansas, maybe the expectations will ramp up a little bit because it's Calipari, but for now,
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah. The expectations will ramp up because Calipari coming in there. But for now, They will be happy with winning the SEC. They'll be happy with making a Final Four. I mean, Arkansas, we got to go back. Arkansas in the early 90s with Nolan Richardson, they were a top program. They had a good run in those early 90s. They won a championship. So it's not like he's going somewhere that doesn't have some basketball tradition. So he's going to have to earn his keep there. You know, he can't just go in there and just be like, oh, well, what have y'all done? And they can be like, well, yeah.
What have you done?
Yeah. It's like, last I checked, we got the same amount of national championship, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But it's, like I said, the expectations will ramp up a little bit. But I mean, as far as like him going in there now, like as of right now today, they're still in the honeymoon phase. But then we'll check back in October. Not even October. We'll check back in like January when conference game starts and Arkansas goes down to Tuscaloosa and gets their ass kicked by the Tide. Then we'll see what everything's sweet. When they got to go to Knoxville and Tennessee bash their head in. When they got to go to Austin and UT beats them by 12, 13 points. Then we're gonna see. But for right now, it's all rainbows and sunshine, and we got Coach Cal and stuff like that. But again, like with anything like this, we'll see.
Now, what would be worse to me is if just say in a hypothetical world, if Kentucky does get Hurley and they go to Fayetteville and beat the brakes off of them, that would be funny.
Yo,
hilarious,
man,
hilarious.
you have to do a watch party that night. We're going to do a watch party for that.
Yeah, that would be funny.
That's going to be insane, man.
Because we know Kentucky got deep money. They're going to get somebody in there that can win. And because it's Kentucky, if somebody comes in there with the right mindset and that can actually coach and get the players in, Arkansas ain't gonna look that pretty too much longer. It ain't gonna look that pretty.
Yeah. I mean, Matt Painter, like, man, Edie gone, man. Let me go ahead and get this money from Kentucky.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be interesting to see how it all pans out, honestly. But speaking of basketball, real quick, and then we're gonna shut the joint down with baseball. NBA's in its final push here. Rockets were officially eliminated a couple days ago. Up right now playing the Orlando Magic. But I wanted to kind of I'm watching it now.
I'm watching some. I won't say what I'm watching because I can't mention what they are, but I mean
yeah.
Different set of problems, but we're talking about NBA right now.
Yeah. I'm let you talk about them here in a minute too, sir. I'm let you talk about them here in a minute.
I rather not, go
ahead. But honestly, man, wanted to see how you felt the final couple of weeks of this NBA season was by the time we reconvene next week. The playoffs and the play-ins will be getting ready to kick off. And so I wanted to kind of see where your head was, anything that you learned, anything you're looking forward to seeing going into next year. Steve, talk to me, man.
So again, like Rockets made it fun. They made it fun because it's like it was games with some meaning. It was nice for the first time in a long time to like watch some games that really meant something other than draft position. And like how many ping pong balls you get. It was nice. We had fun. We all had fun, right, fellas? We had a good time. We had a good time. We had a few laughs. We won a few games. It was nice. But like, at the end of the day, when you lose that game in Minnesota, you get embarrassed on your home court by the Warriors the way you did. You did a lot of talking, but you didn't back it up. And then Sunday just being the final cherry on top, the way they lost that game in Dallas, just
yeah.
I did a lot of swearing on the Lord's Day watching that game on Sunday, and I just anyway. The Rockets went full young team. You never go full young team, and I'm gonna bring up a name that doesn't get mentioned a lot in this whole thing, and that's Udoka. It's like when everything goes right, it's because of him. When everything goes wrong, it's the players. I would love to see MA take a little bit more responsibilities. Like he gets, it's like, no, you setting this up, you're doing this. It's like, yeah, the players need to produce, but it's like sometimes it's like your rotations, your lineups. It's just you can lead a horse to water and make it drink. Yeah, they just, I don't know. It's just But the team that beat the Rockets on Sunday, the Mavericks, man, whew, I would not want to play the Mavericks right now in the series, because the way Luka's playing, the way Kyrie's playing, Maxi Kleber and all these guys, like the Mavericks have been one of the hottest teams in NBA, quiet as kept, the last couple of weeks. You look at the standings and it's like, whoa, the Mavs have won 10 out of their last 12. It's just crazy because they're playing good. Embiid's back for the Sixers, and I said that a couple weeks. I was like, I would like to see this Sixers team get Embiid back. He's going to be on minute restriction, something he's familiar with, sadly. So in his career, being on minutes restriction. But I'm anxious to see what happens. And the last thing I want to throw out is just like, man, the Milwaukee Bucks have been such a roller coaster ride this year.
Oh my God, have they?
It's just like our first boardroom meeting. We were ready to, we were all like, oh, Doc. And then it's like, and then we had to shut up a little bit, because like, it's like, oh, maybe the Bucks are figuring it out. And then here they are again, just doing what they do. And it's just like, once again, looking like they're not going to really be in it to win it in this year's playoffs. And it's just like, I don't understand. We talked a lot about talent in the last segment. It's like the talent is there, but it's just like, Larry mentioned like, mercenary, vigilant. It's like that's what it seems like the Bucks are. They're a bunch of guys together who wearing the same. They're not a team. They're just a bunch of guys who wearing the same uniform, and they have too much talent to not be able to try to put this together. But I'm not sure if they do. But yeah, like I said it one of our first shows. It's like it's funny to see how things tighten up toward the end. The Rockets are playing the Magic, a team that, again, I wish the Rockets would end up like the Magic, because the Magic, they're young, they're hungry. I just love the brand of ball they're playing. They're gonna give somebody all they want in a playoff series. So I'm anxious to see what they do. Again, like we go out west, you have like the young Kings, who they're not winning as many games as they won last year. But they're still a really good young team. They could give one of these higher seeds some trouble in a first round matchup. Of course, T-Wolves, just like I love what they're doing. And then, of course, to bring it all home, again, the Nuggets. We talked about UConn. It just seemed like the Nuggets are bored. They're just waiting for the playoffs. They're just trying not to get hurt. Because a couple years ago, you had Jamal Murray get hurt like right before the playoffs. They just kind of ruined everything for them. So it's like the Nuggets are just like, look, man, let's just play this safe. Y'all boys gonna play 25 minutes a night because we got bigger fish to fry. We trying to run this thing back. But NBA basketball, like it's getting down to the nitty gritty, fellas, and it's just funny because like I said, I'm like, oh, everybody, it tightens up. It always does. It always will. And I'm anxious to see how this shuffles out because there's still some positioning to be had, especially out west. So we'll see. This last little stretch of games is actually really important because some people tend to kind of dial it in down a stretch like this. But there's some position. There's some teams who could go from play-in to home, court event. They can put together a good week here. So I'm anxious to see what happens down the stretch, because for me, fellas, like there's one thing that I love about this time of year is what you see in these teams are you kind of see what the real from the fake, so to speak. It's like you can see the teams kind of tightening up. You can see the rotations getting shorter. You can see it. You see it in these last games where it's like, look, yeah, we play 10, now we playing 7. Or we play 8, now we got a solid 7-man rotation. And you're starting to see it, and I just love watching basketball this time of year because you can see the good teams are starting to kind of set things up for the playoffs. And it's good to watch and tap in this time of year. But we'll see. It's interesting to see what'll happen because I feel like the West is going to be just a raw rumble.
It's going to be fun to watch.
The West is just going to set up to just be ridiculous. In the East, I just think, we got 3 teams, in the East who I think can win it. But we'll see.
Yeah. Larry, talk to me, man. These last stretch of games. I think at this point, all of the teams are locked in. It's just a matter of seeding now from 1 to 10, in both conferences, man. How do you feel, man? Well, I mean, did you learn anything? Are you looking at a particular matchup? Obviously, Miami's sitting here at the 8th playing spot, but they can make a go on a run out of this, playing tournament. So talk about a team kind of playing with their food a little bit, and with the Eastern Conference being as weak, if you will, as we all know it to be. This Heat team can catch fire, lightning in a bottle, man. But talk to me about how the NBA season kind of shook out for you, what you like, what you didn't like, and kind of where your head's at as we prepare for these playing games.
Man, I was kind of, I don't know. I feel like that old Brandy song. I was heartbroken. I had a broken heart, man. The Astros. No. I'm sorry, the Rockets, man. It was like they had it right there. It was right there. It was literally right there. And I get what Steve was saying about Udoka. They're a young team, but you gotta hold them accountable too, right? But the Sengun injury that hurt it. The Tari Eason, Cam been balling, but I think if they still had Sengun, I think they would have really took a push for it, because that Mavericks game pissed me off. But I was thinking them the whole time, I'm like, man, the Mavericks are big. Kyrie and Luka was going out, but if we had Sengun, that probably would have been a neutralizer right there. But that, of course, I wanted to see them at least make the play in. I mean, I'm one of them dudes that I would have. The dream scenario for me would have been them get in, the Warriors get in, and them knock the Lakers out. That would have been the dream scenario for me. But of course, we're not going to get that. The most disappointing thing to me is now that the Rockets aren't in it, they can't seem to win the lottery to save their lives, even though we've had like the most ping pong balls out of anybody. We can't win it for nothing. That kind of brings up the Barchero thing, because we can't win it. And unless we end up with 1 through 3, we don't keep that pick. Nope. And you know what's the most surprising thing about it? You know where that pick goes? OKC. OKC.
That'd be the 39th pick. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that pick goes to OKC. The one thing about the West is, like I said, it's going to come down to these last couple of games. You lose 2 games, you done fell from 3rd to the play-in in the West. It switches up so much. I kind of was disappointed for the Kings because they lost Herder and
Murphy.
I forgot the other guy.
Yeah, Keegan Murray.
No, they lost Herder.
Keegan Murray.
No,
Murray.
Not Keegan Murray. They lost the guy they got from the Lakers. He comes off the bench. Monk, Monk's out. So those are 2 big injuries for them. So you see them, they kind of been slipping a couple of games. But yeah, they're kind of falling, and the Kings are one of those teams that they could make a couple of, a little bit of noise in the playoffs. But the West is, everybody else figured out. Y'all try to avoid Denver as long as possible, and hope for the best. That's all you can pretty much say. Hope for the best. You mentioned the Heat. The Heat is like, the Heat is one of them teams, man. They don't care if they the first seed or the play in or whatever. It's like, we don't care. We know what we can do. Hey, we've been on this run before. We can do it. And if we don't, nobody expecting nothing from us anyway. So it's like, for them, they can do whatever they want to do. Boston is one of those teams where, even though they've locked up everything, I can't buy into them all the way, because they're Boston, and they always seem to make that epic fail. Now I will move over to the Sixers. Embiid being back, that's huge. They were the 2nd seed before he got hurt. And I'll take a limited minutes Embiid over no Embiid. We saw that last year. He was hurt and they lost. But Embiid back in some type of capacity is huge for that team. It opens up so much for Maxey. Maxey had 57 or something the other day, 52 or something, because Embiid opens up so much for them. And I think that's going to be the curveball, because they're not a high seed. They're going to probably end up being 5 or 6 or something like that. And one of those top teams are going to hate playing them. And I can tell you right now who's going to hate playing them. The Bucks.
The Bucks
are going to hate playing them if they end up in like that 6th seed, because we talked about Mercenary. We talked about these coaches who have all this talent who don't bring it home. Like we said, we'll keep it 100. Doc is actually starting to turn into one of the most overrated coaches ever. I couldn't even think of another coach that has had as much talent as Doc has had to win one championship. It almost makes you think about, did he win that first championship because they had more talent on Boston? Because they lost that second one to the Lakers. Was it Doc blowing it? Because we've seen Doc blow it every single time since that first championship. And he's had, even that Clipper team, those Clipper teams had amazing talent. It almost makes you think to yourself, and I think I mentioned this before, it makes you think when you look at like a Doc and you look at all the talent on that Bucks team. And they've been having some injuries, people been in and out the lineup. But when you match up that Bucks team to like that Celtics team, that Bucks team have just the same amount of talent. They got Giannis is an equalizer. They got Dame, who is Dame Dollar, clutch Dame Dollar. Middlebrooks is one of the top players in the league when he's healthy. He can get you 25 easily. Brook Lopez. That team has talent. And you switch out mid-season for Doc, and they've actually been worse with Doc. If you can coach, I feel like if you can coach, you can coach. And if you got talent, that just makes you look like a better coach. It almost, I always say this, fellas, I'm going to put something on your brain. What would that Bucks team look like? Or what would that Spurs team look like if you switch the coaches out? Popovich is, like I said, if you watch those Spurs games, they may be losing. They've been losing, last 5-6 years because Popovich don't have the talent, nowhere near the talent that everybody else has had. But they play hard. They play an efficient offense. They play hard defense. They just don't have the talent that other teams have. So if you had like a Popovich,
and they're in the Western Conference, you take that Spurs and throw them in the Eastern Conference, they make
they nipping on the heels of that play-in in the East, probably. Like crazy.
But real. Let's just keep it, like I said, let's keep it 100. If you put all that talent on the Spurs, where do you think they will be at in the West? They would probably be first or second. They probably would be right up there with the Nuggets. If Popovich had Giannis, Dame Dollar, Brook Lopez, all of the look, I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. Like I said, if people want to go play with Wembley, that dude's a rookie, and that dude is starting to figure it out, and it's starting to be scary. It's starting to be real scary out there. That dude, he almost had a quadruple double the other night. Quadruple double. And they've actually been kind of winning some games. So like I said, when you look at Doc, it's like, Doc, you got all this talent. Or have you really been just getting by because you're Doc Rivers and you're not like I said, like with Calipari, are you Calipari? Are you Doc Rivers? And it's the name and it's the fact that you've delivered one championship, that people are keep giving you these opportunities, and it's not warranted. It's not warranted because the amount of talent that you have is not translating into success on the court. And like I said, I think that they're going to be one of those teams that they're gonna take the fall in the East. And I don't know how that's going to play out with Giannis. I know he got that long-term contract, but you know how NBA dudes now are. I don't know how that's going to play out. Somebody's going to have to go. I don't think Doc's going to be there for year 2. Because I see them taking that fall.
I think that's the guy that goes, because you either have to, mold and adhere your organization to your star, or you risk using the star. Giannis is too dang on popular and too big in Milwaukee now.
What's Steve saying? He's like a deity in Milwaukee. He won him a championship in like the first time in 50 years. Giannis could do basically whatever he wants to do there. They probably already start building the mold for his 20-foot statue that they're gonna put outside of the city walls. But we talked about that Magic team. I could see the Magic team beating them. That Magic team is good. They're young, they're good, and they're hungry. And that's dangerous. It's dangerous. that's dangerous to look out for. But yeah, like I said, I'm more excited about seeing the West because that's power slap over there. Hey, put your hands behind your back. Can you take my best slap? That's what it is in that West. The East, I'm gonna see how it shakes out.
It's a pillow fight.
It's a pillow fight on the East, man. Like it's weird. We were just talking about
the real sport now. That's actually a real sport. Pillow fight now.
Pillow fight. I know that's a slap thing now, but like I haven't seen the pillow fight.
No, I think it's in the Olympics for pillow fight.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Before we get out of here, gentlemen, I wanted to have your knee-jerk reaction to baseball. Now we ain't got to talk about the squad that you guys like. I'm gonna leave that up to you guys.
Look, Larry, it's Kyle Tucker up to bat.
Oh Lord, oh God. But we're into week number 2 of the baseball season. Some teams are rolling pretty well, some teams are not. Larry, I'm gonna start with you, my guy. Give me your knee-jerk gut reaction as you're looking at week 2 of this 2024 season.
You know what? I actually kind of wish that Barry and Chandler was on right now because the first thing I'm gonna say is a knee-jerk reaction. And I know it's not gonna hold up, but Anthony Volpe, that's how you say his name, Volpe. Man, that dude's hitting, and that's what's actually kind of the Yankees have been on fire. Yeah, we caught a brunt of that. But the Yankees, they've actually came out the gate swinging. I mean, we all anticipated because getting through their lineup is like crazy. But the thing about the Yankees, and it's always been, they have a little bit more protection now with Soto. It's always been you get past Stanton and you get past
Judge.
The rest of the lineup, you can throw them curveballs or something. But now, like I say, Volpe, he's been hitting, and their pitching is actually been holding up, to some degree, to kind of keep them in those games. But I was kind of shocked about the Yankees. I feel so bad for this guy every single year. Mike Trout got 5 home runs. Man, he hit a moonshot the other night. Literally hit that dude hit a moonshot the other night. And it's like if Mike
caused the eclipse.
If Mike Trout don't hit a home run, we're not winning tonight. And it's like free Mike Trout at this point because it's starting to get real. It's starting to get real sad to see that much talent go to waste on a team that's not performing. I'll say pretty much the most part of the AL has been kind of the way it should have been. I'll dig into my Astros. And yeah, Steve, you saw Tucker. Just push one across. Just ground it out. No, when there's no pressure, I'll hit a home run. When there's pressure, I think I'll ground out. But the Astros, we did get that one. We got 2 against the Rangers.
Split with the Rangers.
Split with the Rangers. So that was good. It's actually it was actually a good feeling that our bats are finally coming alive. But like I said, the Astros not made for this early in the season. They're not made for April. They made for October. We'll get some of these arms back. The bullpen is keeping you on pins and needles damn near every night. But we'll see. Like I said, hopefully we'll pull it out tonight because we're playing KC. Then this game shouldn't be this shouldn't be a tie. Like that.
Shouldn't be tied.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be tied.
Yeah, shouldn't be tied. I'll go there. And like I say, moving up to the NL. I saw the Marlins. They finally got a win. Woohoo! But the Dodgers. Hey, look, that's starting to be scary. And my early season prediction was I wanted to see Astros redeem ourselves against the Dodgers. But the way the Yankees are playing right now, oh my God! If they ran into the Dodgers in the World Series, if you sit in the parking lot, you can sit in the parking lot. You catching the ball, you probably catching a couple. Don't park your car out there because it's gonna get dinged up. Because the Dodgers, Ohtani, he has 14, 15 hits. Mookie Betts is like second behind him. Like the pitching is crazy. It's like Yokomo, he finally kind of sort of figured it out a little bit. You know, maybe he'll come around. They said it was a lot of nerves, though. They said that was mainly the thing was he was nerves. You know, he couldn't settle down. But yeah, it's that I mean, the Reds, I love them, and you know, they had an amazing game. De La Cruz, man, he had that inside the park, man. They had an amazing game. I want to see what they're gonna do, but it's kind of like it's the Dodgers to lose. They are literally. I mean, I know they lost those 2 games, but they destroying people. I hate to say it. It's like you could be up 3-0 against the Dodgers and down 7-3 in the next inning, which is crazy. But yeah, we go. It's still early, week 2. We'll see what happens moving forward because a lot of guys are finally starting to coming back. Verlander, he didn't really want to pitch. He just wanted to get a couple of throws in the other night. But we'll see once we start getting these arms back in Houston.
Yeah, Steve, talk to me, my guy. Major League Baseball is in week number 2. Your knee-jerk reaction. Again, I'm not going to feed you the Astros, but if you want to touch on that, be my guest. But there's a lot of good baseball going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of good baseball going on. So I won't talk about the Astros because they're not playing good baseball. You know, but so your Yankees are, but that was to be expected. I mean, it's just like again, like I said, we laugh and joke and we go back and forth or whatever like that. But I mean, the Yankees, like I've been saying, the same thing with the Dodgers, the same thing with the Yankees. Like the more times you have to go through that lineup, the worse it is for your pitching staff. The more pitches these guys see, you know, the worse it is for your pitching staff. Like Soto got his first, you know, Yankee Stadium home run the other night. That was a nice little moment for them. You know, which man, that guy in that stadium, he is going to get a hold of one and it's going to land on the subway tracks. So I can't wait to see that. Because yeah, like I said, that guy in that stadium, yeah, it's going to be some fireworks. Yeah, Astros are kind of muddling around. You know, like I said, it's early until it isn't. You know, so it's like I would like for them to kind of like get this bullpen tightened up. But you know what? I'm going to talk about the team that plays about 15, 20 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. The Pittsburgh Pirates. Man, oh, man alive. The Pittsburgh Pirates, like, but this is like, I live here. And I'm a baseball fan and I live here. So like just by default living here, I'm all in on the Pirates. I hear it every day. I hear everybody at work. I see it on the news, the paper, whatever. Listen on the radio. It's, you know, so. But what a lot of people don't know is that, man, Brian Reynolds, O'Neal Cruz, and Ke'Bryan Hayes, and like this team, they have a lot of good young talent, and Shelton is a hell of a manager. I love what he's doing. You know, they have some arms on the staff. You know, they have one of the better bullpens in baseball, quiet as kept. Yeah, I love what the Pirates are doing. And I'm not just saying that because I live here. It's just, you know, like the lady in the next room, she's a born and raised Pittsburgher. She's a Braves fan. So she don't care about the Pirates. I don't got to say nothing nice about the Pirates because whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm saying it just as a baseball fan. Like the Pirates are playing well, and they started out well last year, and then they went a month with, you know, they won like 2 games in a month. You know, you can't do that. And then O'Neal Cruz got hurt, and then Ke'Bryan Hayes was kind of like slow to start. But it's like, if the Pirates can keep it going, it's like, I mean, I'm not, look, again, it's early. There's a lot of baseball left to be played. But right now, it's like people should pay attention to the Pirates. They should pay attention to another young team in the division, the Reds. You know, Ellie De La Cruz getting around the bases in like 14 seconds. It's like, man, well, I know y'all both. Have you been on anybody out there who's watching, listening? A baseball diamond is not a small space.
Not small.
Okay, for that man to be able to get from home and back to home in less than 15 seconds, it is ridiculous. Yeah. Okay, and he's must-see TV. Is like again, the Reds have become kind of like our unofficial like other team, you know, on this show. Love the Red Legs, you know. Like I said, I watch them. I'm enjoying watching them when I'm watching the team that's on over my left shoulder here. But be that as it may, I love what is going on in baseball right now because again, we talked about this a little bit last week. Was just like the youth. The Tigers Tigers had a rough series against the A's, but then even the A's, all that stuff going on in Oakland aside, which is I don't want to get in that. That's something we can talk about another day. I hate it. I hate just the tradition. Like the A's should be in Oakland. They should not be anywhere else. And them going to this minor league ballpark in Sacramento is a joke.
Mm-hmm.
It's a damn joke. I'm talking about like, Soto hitting one in Yankee Stadium. Man, when you got some major league players about to play in this minor league park, they're gonna be hitting balls to Portland from Sacramento. Mm-hmm. But that's neither here nor there. I don't like what's going on. I think Major League Baseball should step in, but they don't care because they want to be in Vegas. And they don't care. They don't care about the fans in Oakland. And it's just like all the like again, I'm a baseball purist. I'm a traditionalist. It's like the Oakland A's, while not now, I mean, it's just the history there. They need a new stadium. The city of Oakland didn't want to do it. And then now you look at the bigger scope. It's like the city of Oakland, which had the Warriors, the Raiders, and the A's, are now about to have 0 teams.
0 teams.
Which is crazy to me. Because when I was growing up, you had the Warriors, you had the Raiders, you had the A's across the street, and now none of those teams are going to be there. It's crazy, but like I said, that's a different topic for a different day. But like baseball is in a good spot right now because I love the youth movement. I was very high on the Cubs. The Cubs had some injuries and kind of stumbled out of the blocks a little bit, but I think they'll be fine. Again, what can you say about the Dodgers that hasn't already been said? I mean, but we knew this. It's like the only player playing better than Ohtani right now is probably Mookie Betts, I think. Like Mookie Betts has just been fantastic. But I mean, this is what we expect from him. Is like Mookie Betts is an amazing baseball player, and you add an Ohtani to that lineup, and you have a Freddie Freeman in that lineup, and it's just this is what happens. Again, like I said with the Yankees, the more pitches the Dodgers lineup sees, the worse it is for your pitching staff. So, and speaking of pitching staffs, the Dodgers pitching staff, which had looking a little bit shaky, they're starting to straighten things out. And Larry mentioned Mike Trout, and I get a feeling that I think Mike Trout is fine in this situation, or I think he just wants to do things the right way. Because if I was Mike Trout, I would be yelling and screaming, "Somebody get me out of Anaheim right now! Get me out of here!" But it takes nothing away from Mike Trout's greatness. He's a great baseball player. 5 years from the day he retires, he's going to be in Cooperstown. But it's just, I would love to see
a guy like Mike Trout.
Yeah,
he's loyal to a fault.
Loyal to a fault, and I would love to see Mike Trout get a chance to play some meaningful baseball in October.
And I think that's the thing, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would love to see him get a chance to play some meaningful baseball in October while he still has it. It's like, if it's a thing where it's like late in his career, he finally accepts the trade to a contender or whatever like that. And then you'll be like, oh, man, what could have happened or whatever like that? Just like you have a guy like we talked basketball earlier, like Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett left Minnesota about 5 years later than he should have. But I mean, it worked out for him, goes to Boston, gets the championship that they're still milking to this day. The one championship they won. Everybody is,
And Minnesota still hasn't retired his jersey, but Boston already did.
Which is crazy. But baseball, man, in full swing is starting. I didn't, pun not intended saying football, baseball in full swing, but it is. But yeah, it's like it's a long season. I feel like the cream always rises to the top in baseball. You'll look and you'll see. Hopefully, it's like, oh man, look, the Astros won 7 out of 8. They didn't win their last 2 series. And same thing. But as always, I say I hope the Cardinals continue to stink because like screw the Cardinals in every way, shape, or form. So that'll be my look at my knee-jerk reaction so far in baseball.
I feel you. With that being said, talk to me, Steve. Talk to me, Doug.
Y'all know me. I'm like the preacher, man. I always got to come back around, man. And I know it's just those 3. They actually been playing really good. Hey, Steve, what'd you think about it? And Boston got deep pockets. What if they came back and they said, look, we're going to make this trade, put Mike Trout over here, bring him to Fenway?
Yeah, that would be crazy because, like...
That's short field.
Yeah, I mean, because him and Devers and like, I mean, again, it's like, it sucks that Story went down. It's like Story's been hurt since the minute he signed that contract for the Red Sox. So I was actually kind of mad that he didn't sign with the Astros once upon a time. So I'm kind of dodged the bullet with that one because when Story's healthy, he's a phenomenal baseball player. But like, yeah, that would be something where like I feel like a team, if things keep going the way they're going to Anaheim, I feel like a team might be like, look, what y'all want for Trout?
Yeah.
You know, let's
they
be honest here. You know,
they got deep pockets, and they'll spend that money. They'll, especially if they know they can beat the Yankees. They'll spend that money in Boston to get him over there, because I think a lot of people don't want to take on that contract. But if you think about the state of baseball right now, like you said, we having this youth movement, but beating the, because we just face the fact the Astros either been playing for a World Series or win the World Series the past 6-7 years. And one of the things about the Astros is you have to get, like Steve was like, get through their lineup a second time around. You got to get through Altuve, Bregman, Alvarez, Tucker. You got to get through their lineup. But now you're seeing the Yankees, you got to get through Soto and Stanton and Judge. And with the Dodgers, you got to get through not just Mookie Betts and Freeman. You got to get through Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freeman. And now that other teams have came up to, that standard of not just getting through our top 2 hitters, you got to get through our top 3 or 4 hitters. I would definitely, like I said, I would love to see him, moving on to say to a Boston, or I'll even be honest with you, I wouldn't mind seeing, and I know they dumped a whole bunch of salary, I wouldn't mind seeing him in San Diego. Him with getting through that lineup, and you add Mike Trout to it.
That'd be nasty.
That would be
he wouldn't even have to move. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. You can still stay there. That's crazy.
Yeah,
man. But yeah, man, it's been a crazy show. Talking baseball, basketball as always. Next week, I do believe Barry will be behind the wheel. I play softball. I'll be doing my softball thing, so I'm gonna pop in late, but Barry's gonna kick it off. But with that being said, Larry, thanks for coming by, my guy. Give us a plug and a close out. You shut it down, buddy.
Man, like I say, man, it's always wonderful joining you gentlemen, man. Love to talk sports, love to get insight in how other people are perceiving sports in general. I definitely think that it's always a positive conversation that we can have, and it's not to where it's in an offensive or a way that other people can't relate to what we're saying. I definitely think I love the fact that we all get together as gentlemen and we talk through these things, and we say things to where we're just not negatively like spruing off things. Like I always give an example of, you hear a Cowboys fan and every year they're like, we're winning the championship, and you ask them why, and they couldn't give you not one positive or one feedback to justify what they're saying. And we got a group of fellas on here, but we may have difference of opinions, but we can always give you facts and we can give you reasons that you can relate to and translate. But yeah, always definitely a pleasure, fellas.
Thanks, my guy. Appreciate you. Steve, man, you know what to do, my guy. Give us a plug and a close up and shut it down, sir.
Yeah, I mean, again, like to piggyback on what Larry said, that's why I love this. That's why you should love it. That's why you should watch and you should support and you should share and you should like and you should do all that stuff on your socials as we do, because I feel like the view from the boardroom is the best view on the internet. We bring it every Tuesday. It's a pleasure to come in here every Tuesday and do our thing. And to close out, God is good
all the time.
Water is life. Make sure y'all stay hydrated out there. And of course, Wu-Tang is for the children. See y'all next week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. Pleasure to kick it with you, my man. Y'all know how I shut it down, man. It's your boy Sirius repping that 412 and the 703, man. It's a privilege and a pleasure to bring you guys this on a regular basis, man. As I said in my opening, rest in peace, my man Rodri. Man, life is gonna be weird without you in it, man. So prayers up to you and your family. Shout out to all those that's been rocking with us. Shout out to my homeboys and my friends over at the Nonsense and Deep Thoughts podcast, man. Talking everything wrestling with those guys. Working on something with them coming up in the foreseeable future. Shout out to everybody who else has been rocking with us, man. I say this a lot. I say this a lot in my personal life. Make sure when you give your word is your bond. Make sure when you give your word is your bond, man. It's there's a lot of fake stuff going on And as I leave this evening, make sure you stay by your word, man. With that being said, God bless. Catch you guys on the next one.